Hello and welcome to Submitted for Your Approval. We're going to review the new collective submissions, the ones that just got in, the ones that are probably going to get in next week, and the ones that might not. I am StrangerSide. I'm the de facto admin / creator of Carthyian, the realm that's been getting a little bit of attention recently. And then here with me today, I have Grief, who is an alpha player, Walnacht realm admin, and a really, really good artist for collective. Want to say hi?
Yeah, but now you put me on the spot with a really good artist, which isn't that so. That's not so correct.
Oh, no. Anyway, so we'll just get right to it. With reviewing some of the new cards. So first off, we have, I figured we'd review the cards that are getting in last week, and then we'll start in with the cards from next week. So topping it off, we have our Quest DC, and this is Enlightenment from Mistheim. It's a collaboration between Gentle Cat, Aiden ATP, and Tahazar, and the art, of course, is Gentle Cat. You can't disguise that. So what do you think, Grief?
Art-wise, magnificent, like all of Gentle Cat's works are. But yeah, I don't really have too much of an opinion on the card. I like it mechanically, but I honestly didn't really play much around with it. I still have to, but maybe I drafted it once.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So the reward here is True Vision, which is similar to basically how you would implement Future Sight from Magic in Collective. And I think it's interesting how much hoops you have to jump through to get this. You have to get 6 actions. Each action has to have a different cost. And then you get, what's a 5-drop in Magic? I mean, and it's exclusive on top of that. So I don't really know how this is going to fit into the meta landscape, how this is going to see play. But it's interesting. And I like interesting cards. I would prefer an interesting card over a card that's super impactful on the meta any day.
Oh yeah, for everyone who didn't really know why we're talking about Enlightenment or why it's a legend or what legends are about, we had a design competition about quest designs or legend designs, which are
so the whole idea with legends, they need innate, they need a 0 cost, they tend to be exclusive or neutral, and they give you a big reward. And this is the only one that got in under the rules. And I think that's interesting. I mean, this is, if you're going to get one in, I think this one was probably the most flexible or one of the most flexible.
Exactly. One of the problems with voting on our design competition cards, especially on Legends, is that they are innate. So they start at the beginning of the game, they start in your hand by replacing a card in your hand before you mulligan. So most of them actually gain their value over time. So drafting them over the course of a game or as your first draft overall, they usually tend to come in too late or aren't flexible enough. So most of them wouldn't really be good cards that can be drafted during the game. So Enlightenment, on the other hand, is the most flexible one, which probably did it some favors, but overall it's a pretty interesting design, as you said.
Yeah.
Most of the others were basically just win cons or win mores.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing to kind of note about the designs. So here we have Kambou. I figured I'd kick it off with the 2 Carthyian designs. What can I say? I'm not totally impartial. This is our Kaiju. This is our one of our big rares. We actually filled out both of our rares the same week. And it creates 2 of these Metropolis airplanes for your opponent, which are pingers. You get a free active, deal 1 damage to a unit. And it has that awesome rage ability. A lot of people are commenting that this is good, but not as great as it looks on paper. I know Empty Folder had a little review where he said its board presence is not as impactful as you'd think. And of course, it does have the limitation. If you hit it with a kill spell, your opponent now has that reward with no takeaway. You know, they can't you don't get anything out of it. They get something out of it now.
Exactly.
I think it's pretty cool. Someone commented this might end up receiving an update to make that summon effect an entrance, so that you can't cheat it out with martial promotion.
Yeah, martial promotion or similar effects like basically or. On the other hand, it's still quite good. You have basically an overrun unit if you manage to get it into a self-ping deck or similar, where you want to basically burn your own units. Triggering the rage quite often, to be honest. But on the other hand, yeah, it's just a big dude that can get chump blocked, which you have to actually take care of, considering that Perlmore could drop it on turn 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Due to her innate mana ramp, due to doubloons.
And here we have the other Carthyian rare, which is the Ominous Greenhouse. This is actually Apra's took the lead on this one. I tuned it a little bit. And so we got this cool greenhouse, makes these Grim Sprouts, little regenerate plants. And it basically, you have step 1 where you're trying to kill a bunch of enemy units, and then step 2 where you're just trying to get Ominous Greenhouse dead so that you could dump all of them out of your hand. And man, I want to zoom in on that art a little bit. That is a messed up looking piece of art on Grimsprout. Ooh, that is the face only a mother could love.
Do you really think so? Really, even a mother?
Yeah, I don't really have much to say on the design. I just kind of wanted to show it off, I guess. It's tricky to build. It's a build around card.
That's true.
What it is. It's not. You got to kind of run stuff to make this work. It's not going to work just right off the bat for you.
I mean, it could actually work on a more control style build, because we have some, because green has some board wipe capabilities, or spirit in this case, with the new one getting in like, what was it? Wood burning or
Forest to Cinders. We're going to talk about that one in a bit, actually.
Forest to Cinders. We have Fallout. We could basically run it side by side with Kingdom.
Yeah, rolling Earthquake on a full board, this is going to be impressive.
Yep.
Here's Forest to Cinders. So that's the one you're just talking about.
Exactly.
So this one, I thought I knew how this card worked, and then I had to reread it. So the ideal situation, for those of you who haven't figured this out yet, because it takes a bit to figure out, you have a something with 1 HP, something with 2 HP, something with 3 HP, something with 4 HP, and so on. And then, so it's going to kind of like cascade and steamroll up a whole bunch of units. Basically only leaving like the higher half of the board there. So my first thought's Dat. Especially since it's exclusive, this is kind of what Dat wants, right?
Yeah. I think for anyone who's played Magic or Hearthstone recognizes the effect as either Massacre Girl or Defile. You can actually set up this kind of board wipe in a pretty interesting way, where you try to set up different HP values even on your own board, because it recasts itself on any kind of unit that is killed. So even if your own units die, you can take it off. That could actually use it in terms of due to its high, due to their high toughness or high HP values, can most of the time survive it. But as I already mentioned, you can play it side by side with Fallout or another kind of removal that is, oh god, I forgot its name. The new spirit removal that gives the unit -2 attack and then switches the HP and attack values.
Oh, retroversion, yeah.
Exactly, retroversion, which can also play into it. So yeah. there's a lot of HP manipulation where you can slot it into a green deck. Yeah. Bullock, on the other hand, cries when seeing this card.
Yeah, this is Bullock. It's interesting that this is Spirit, because, I mean, it fits Spirit, but Bullock does not want to see this card come out at all. It already has enough problem dealing with 1/1s, and now even its larger utility units are going to go away.
Yeah. short is a good card.
So I am
Play it.
very excited about this next design. This is Super Son Zeratul's Huntsman's Bow, which this is fun. So this is a callback to the Huntsman and Huntsman Jr., and it basically makes it into a mini Huntsman. And so the idea here is you're ideally putting this on a unit with Deadly and turning this into a 3-drop removal spell that leaves behind this awesome set of abilities. And I think it's really great. I'm so glad Super Sun finally got this card in. It's, first of all, more spirit removal, which spirit needs it. And it's also pretty dang flexible. I mean, there are a lot of different situations where you might want this. And the art's pretty good.
That's true. For anyone who knows the reference, it's Huntsman Spider's effect.
Yeah.
And therefore more flexibility for anti-flying interaction, because as we all know, or the people who play Collective know, Spirit can't get flyers. So Leap, pretty useful. Ambush, definitely a good interaction if you can set it up on an exhausted unit. Then again, you're paying 3 mana for it. So it's basically you're basically playing around with a 4 to probably 6 cost unit or mana pool that you have to spend on having a decent anti-flyer ambusher. On the other hand, 3 damage directed to a flying unit, quite flexible, yeah. On Deadly, as you already said, could be usable, and maybe on certain pingers that, or trigger effects that want to deal damage to certain units.
So this one is fun. This is Whammerist getting in. That's great. I was so glad for Whammerist. I Frozen and ATP. I didn't notice it was such a big collab. I imagine they helped with the blocking, because that must have been a nightmare.
I can attest to that. We had actually 5 hours of that discussion, even after the card already got into the Reddit.
Yeah, I heard this is bugged actually. Wham submitted a bug fix because it's messy.
Is the bug fix already in?
I don't know. I know it isn't for Flips. Flips actually had a bug in it, I found. And then apparently this has a bug fix that's coming on the way. I don't even know what it is, but I can imagine all sorts of things could have gone wrong. So yeah, strength equipment, that's a build now. If it has a lot of stuff already to fill out the early plays, and now having a big late game, I mean, you still got to play into it, but it's a pretty big late game bomb if you can get it off.
That's true. I mean, I've played with it and I played against it, even when it partially functioned as intended. So it's more support for the really hardliner equipment deck, which wants to get, which in this case wants to get late, and also wants to play stuff like Now I'm opening the collective collections. Sorry, wait a second.
No, you're good.
The Master Weaponsmith to get your to get your reductions on your equipment. You can play the new Night Merchant. Night Shift Merchant.
Night Merchant is a great tool for this. Oh, so it only transfers the stats.
It only transfers the stats. The good thing about it is, though, due to the interaction with the Weaponsmith, all your equipments just cost 0. So in this case, you can actually play certain higher cost spells that you get from higher cost equipments that you gain from stuff like from the stone, or even your more costlier or your more cheaper equipments already get a massive discount, which you generate overall with stuff like the Kirk or the Wolf.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, Aaron, or some of those other things. Some might say, though, especially at 8 and it being a multi-card combo, that it's kind of win more and that it's a little bit, I mean, there are definitely pieces you can take out. He does have a good body, though. 5'6" is nothing to shake a stick at. It's survivable. Man, we haven't even got through all the ones that are getting in. Night Shift Merchant, Puapka, great work on the art as always. This is the one we were talking about with the equipments. Flying, Duelist, Regenerate, Life Bond. Oh, you actually don't get anything out of that with Sogen because they all do one.
No, the thing is about the interaction with Sogen is that your other units get damaged or their stats get reduced, which can be a decent interaction if you want to. It's basically more flexibility or quirky little corner cases which you can play around with. Problem is, due to the old bug of it, or maybe if the bug is still in, I don't know, I haven't checked yet, you basically reduced your board or killed itself while just playing one of those curios, which was funny. Also, for some reason, it triggered self-damage multiple times for some reason. So, yeah, you burned someone to death with Guardian from the Abyss, or both players, because it damaged itself for -65.
Yeah. So with Night Shift Merchant, this also starts the run with Sweatlow. Lampiro got added to it. That's a card that's already in, so I ain't gonna talk about it. But congrats to Puapka, and I hope to see more Sweatlow stuff in the future.
Yeah.
That art style is just beautiful.
Extremely flexible card.
Yeah. So this is Tahazar's Unsummoning. More bounce, cheap bounce. Not much to say about it. It does cause it to lose a summon. So this makes it more aggressive for playing against someone. And that's super cool. I'm super glad to see that in. It's still actually very flexible. And it's neat. I'm excited for it. Merrick, this, again, I didn't want to talk too much about this. I did want to give a shout out to VM Nunez. Tried so hard to get it in. I know it was 2 or 3 weeks submitted. And
yep.
Congrats on Mirage for getting its legendary. Cowboy Apple, again, short card, really cool. I like the Duelist and +1 attack. It's just neat. Just neat little toolkit card. Pop up occasionally on flips. And Serpent. I think we could talk a little bit about this one. What do you think of it?
I don't know really what to think about it. I like the effect that I like the ability for it to basically be a board wipe enabler.
Yeah. It's awkward. It's not the 9.77, and you have it has an ability that tells me don't attack with it.
Yes. It's a neutral 9-cost 7/7 that basically burns or pings the entire board, except for itself. And over time, you can basically try to ping, destroy different units. It's basically a faster demolition expert, which first of all marks units and then in the next turn kills it.
Yeah.
Which is a turn slower, but then again, it's like 5 mana cheaper. On the other hand, yeah, why is that card so extremely high costed and high stated if you really don't want to attack with it? Maybe Chomp Block?
This is devastating against Baluk, though. That's one thing to note.
It's true. It's basically a neutral board wipe for small token decks, especially Flames, which are now propping up more commonly. On the other hand, maybe it's even too slow for that because, as said, it costs 9 mana.
Yeah, it's Flames against the Flames player. You're already dead before you can play this out to counter.
I mean, turn 6, turn 7, maybe in Pearlmore or Eagolist Pearlmore decks, which pretty much like a new tool to use. But then again, I don't really see a home for that card currently. But I like the poppy art.
I love the art. I think it's doing something cool. So we have something coming before us here on the Reddit now. We got the combo meal update. I just wanted to say, as the creator of the card, I much prefer option A and giving it the rare material writer than option B here, which is weird. It's a good combo card, but I don't know. I think option A is better. Let's see which ones. Looks like neither of them are getting a lot of upvotes. I mean, there's still like half a week left, but I don't know. Something needed to be done about it. It allowed some really degenerate stuff, some combos I did not intend. And
wait, not a combo support card that does things that you didn't intend it to do.
That had cost reduction. I was asking for it. So I have to talk about the card jam, archetype completionists. Dwarves don't really interest me that much. Just as a person, the actual effects they have also don't interest me a lot. This one, however, changed my mind. I like Bitter Dwarf. It's a fun package. Plopka and the rest of Archetype Completionists did great on it. Have you played with it at all?
Not yet, but just in context, because we're pretty much going quite fast card by card. So just to give people exactly context, because not everyone who's watching it may or may not play Collective. What's the Archetype Completionist? What's actually the design initiative?
Oh yeah, I'll launch into that. That's a good idea.
What are dwarves basically? Because you said you don't like them mechanically. Step by step, what's the Archetype Completionist? It's an initiative basically created by a Squawk and Wham, both pretty nice members of our collective community, and nice to be around. They set up a new Discord server or side server, which has the goal to support, complete, or basically resurrect certain archetypes, deck tribes, tribal supports, etc., which are in collective. Because for the most part, due to our voting system, cards don't, or card archetypes don't really get much support over the time, or die trying on the way.
Yeah, voting system's kind of anti-archetype if you think about it, because
exactly
the most popular stuff might not necessarily align with an archetype. So what they're trying to do is, well, what if we tell everyone to pay attention, to focus, and to build something out and to fill in kind of the other tools that it needs.
Exactly. So that's where design initiatives or design jams or card jams were created for. The Archetype Completionist server sets up cards in advance on the server for archetype or tribe they vote on. After the voting, they design cards for that. In this case, it was dwarves. Dwarves have the pretty interesting mechanical connection to lowering their own max mana to be a more board-centric, aggressive archetype that can interact with lowering, having either low threshold of max mana or lowering it over time to trade it for temporary mana, stat buffs, or certain token interactions even.
Yeah, so they rely on stuff like Vanarad, Leveler. I think that's the big staple there, right?
Leveler, yeah.
Leveler's their big staple, which resets your max mana to 3, so that you can at least kind of get cards out, and then they try to keep everything pretty low. This one's really cute because it actually has this emote. It says, well, now I'm not doing it if you don't meet its condition. So it's a little memey. Klopka's art is great on that. I do like the interaction between Flip's Burgers and the hot fries option. So if you get hot fries out first and then you get this out, it'll deal 1 damage, which will meet its condition, and then it'll bump its power to 5. And that
we also had Night Merchant already in advance. Each of the curious deal damage to the units you're basically equipping with it, so it triggers its condition and even gets something like Regenerate, which would even help it further down the line, which you can even equip it further with Vanguard each time you're reducing your max mana. So basically building your own Voltron strategy around small-legged, chubby little dudes.
So yeah, I think that's super cool. Mountain Griffon mount. I love the mount cards. The steeds are my favorite deal. +3/+3 Entomb. It does make you lose 1 max mana, which is a little different from the mounts before. I don't really feel like it should have gotten a cost reduction for that. Normally the steeds are about 1 or 2 more, and they basically just give you the stats of another card, in this case Mountain Griffon, and then whenever it dies, you get to create that card. And seeing that for 5 and then still having to lose a max mana, I mean, it's a neat card, though. I think this could definitely see play. I hope it gets in. I always like more steeds, even though this is dwarves.
Even though it's dwarves. Okay. I basically don't have much. I don't really have much thought on it. Didn't really notice it. Just another dwarf cut, just like I said, for me. Not really doing it for me.
Guys, apologies. I didn't have Grief read all of my selections in advance, so he might not have seen some of these.
Yes. I'm also quite surprised by some of them.
Oh, yeah. Grief, read fast. So this is Rolf the Stone Forger. It gives you this, it's kind of a riff on Sogan, I think. But it gives one of these 3 effects to all of your dwarfs, and then you lose 2 max mana. So this is super, like, if you're doing this, you're not kidding. You want to get it out fast, and then you need to win, because this is like, so it's a 4-drop. It comes out on turn 4, ideally, if you get a couple bitter dwarves. And you also take damage equal to your max mana, so the earlier you play this, the better. Unless you've been really hammering away at your max mana. +0/+2 in ward, +2/+0 in overrun, so they got kind of a symmetry there. And +1/+1 in duelist is kind of the mid-rangey option. This is
okay, let's say gross. Okay, let's be honest, it's a little bit unimpressive. It's a good design angle, but one problem exists with dwarves of all. While quirky and aggressive, you're lowering your max mana, and you're an extremely board-based or board-centric archetype. Meaning, if you get hit by just 1 or maybe 2 interactions with your board, you're pretty much out of the water. You're knocked out of the water. You don't have the resources to set up your board again, or you are still lagging behind because you are pretty much full into dwarves aggro / mid-range, or you're not. And when you're not, why are you playing those cards? Burning yourself for like 6 or 5 or even 8 HP just because you have so much max mana is not really a good idea. That's why dwarves usually utilize fast mana. But even those cards have to get in first. We have some in Reddit currently that do stuff like that, and we have some in rotation, out of rotation on Legacy Pool, but not in Standard.
Yeah.
The problem is those dwarves rely on each other, or those plants rely on each other to get in, or else the deck is still quite unplayable.
Yeah. Stargazers. I thought you in particular would like this design, Grief. This is my thing I wanted to show you. This is Inferno 390, who I think just showed up, relatively new to me at least. Haven't seen the name around. The art's pretty. Nice, simple composition. I like the eye. And then it gives you golden ticket each turn.
Nope, not really. It scours.
Choose one of them and mill the rest.
Exactly. It basically is scouring, but pitching the cards into the graveyard. And self-milling, for those who don't play collective, is quite a proliferating archetype. You have to consider that as well. Just pitching stuff into the graveyard is not really a drawback. So this has quite a lot of interactions. We have stuff like Jester, which is a unit that puts itself into the board when it gets milled.
Yeah.
Interaction with it. We have, even in green, undeads like the Brood, that when you have three or four more or more on that in your on the board, it brings itself back onto the board. So again, for a lot of graveyard shenanigans or self-mode plans, or even other stuff just for looting or going through your deck to find your combo pieces, this card is quite interesting. A little bit on the slower side, but it's fair as is.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, it's based. You're right. It does. I think it leaves the card on top of your deck the way it's worded.
Exactly. It mills the rest.
So yeah, you get to keep one card on top of your deck. Great with Jester, like you said. This has a lot of potential. Guys, upvote that, please. That is pretty.
Also, don't forget we have a Nisha Mage, so now you can also pitch your actions into the graveyard if you don't want to.
Oh yeah, you could get, if you have Buyer's Remorse, you can Amnesia Mage back stuff.
Exactly.
Or you can throw it in there on purpose, you know?
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. Hollow Visitor, this is by Wham, who is actually, I mean, the #2 player. The the design competition that's coming out next week is themed around Blast from the Past and back-referencing existing cards. It's going to be so exciting. I don't even know if I'll talk about the cards that get in that week because I'm going to be so excited with the new submissions. The design here is interesting, and I had a lengthy talk with Wham about it. Choose a card from your opponent's hand and force play it. So this is with the new force play block. It lets you force cards out of your opponent's hand or deck or whatever. What's weird about it is for 3, you could if you don't like the options you see, you're putting out something that you can't give them something good, right? So this is less effective than a lot of like targeted discard. So like if this card said choose a card in your opponent's hand and discard it, that's actually pretty neat, right? But this force plays it, which creates an interesting dynamic, I think. You got to think carefully about kind of what you're expecting, what the matchup is, before you play this thing. But otherwise, it's a 4/4 ambusher, so it's good body. And, you know, maybe you can play something that's not so relevant.
Okay. First of all, vanilla stats, 3 cost, 4/4, quite exciting, interesting, and okay. It has a Spectre, it has the Spectre tribe, which is also quite useful, considering that we have stuff like Spook Blast and minute Spectre interaction, Ambush, so it's basically a French vanilla. The interesting part about Force Play is here, the one single question, does it spend the mana of your opponent as it should? At least as written.
Well, yeah,
Which brings up another interesting part of interaction. You can force unfavorable turn sequencing, meaning you play this, choose whatever action or unit that your opponent really does not need or want currently in its turn sequencing, spend their mana, and basically skip their turn with it in the most extreme cases. And I like this.
Yeah, it's got a lot of fun potential. It's a nice little, it's a drawback. Let's actually acknowledge that thing there. It looks like it's a buff, but in a lot of situations, it can be a drawback. It just depends on how you're playing it. So it's flexible, and I love flexibility, and so I'm going to give that an upvote. Pyromaniac Pencil. This is Revenge Turtle's design. So I didn't like the original version that Revenge posted to the Discord. Revenge is trying to turn it around. So choose 2 units, deal 1 damage to each, draw 2 if you kill the friendly unit this way. So this is self-sack in mind, which is very interesting. Because it's ideally you're going to want to use it for the sack. You can use it for the card advantage. The problem for me is it kills your 1/1s. It's a pinger. And Baluk already has a big problem with these things. I don't think it needs more tools. But that draw 2, it makes it flexible. I played with it a couple of times, and I think it's cool. I like the art. It's got the cute little swirl on it. I don't know.
I mean, it's quite interesting because we have to consider Mind has quite a lot of tokens or one unit, 1 HP units or low HP units this can interact with or turn them into a card advantage. Because every time you, or not really card advantage, because every time you kill a unit, for the first time you kill a unit, you're going like ±0 because you've played the card and you killed one of your units, draw 2 cards.
But I mean, Chip Burglar's already +0. So this is turning Chip Burglar into advantage. So like, there's a lot of places where this is good.
Exactly. On the other hand, we get a Mind is full of 1 damage interaction. So yeah, it just puts more tools into the toolbox. But if it's needed or utilized, depends on the deck.
Yeah, so I think this one should probably get more upvotes. It's not up my alley personally, but I think it has a lot of interesting potential. It's very flexible, and I like flexible.
Also, huge fan of the art.
Yeah, the art's great. Next one over. Dust Devil, Nasmith. This is another board wipe, just what we need. But it's a scaling board wipe. Deals 1 damage, adds a damage for each Dust Devil in your graveyard. So this is a 3-drop, 1/1 killer, a 3-drop, 3/3 killer, a 3-drop, 5/5 killer, depending on what turn you play it. It's neat that it scales depending on how far along you are in the game, which opens up a lot of avenues. It becomes more and more useful. So maybe the thing is, it's already useful. Like for 3 mana, you should be able to get that effect, and now you can get a bigger version of that effect later on.
You have to consider we have a similar effect already in the game, nerfed or updated. Judgment.
Moonlight's Judgment. Yeah, you can't
compare
this to Moonlight's at least a little bit.
Because it's a 3 mana, deal 1 to every unit. If it kills a unit, get a Lunar Blast into your hand.
Yeah, and the Lunar Blast is a 1-drop, 1 damage, banishes itself at the end of the turn, currently.
While you don't get the upside of killing 1/1s, you have, as we already said, the flexibility of its scaling. So here comes the interesting part. You can put it or utilize it into hard control decks where you don't really play extremely board-centric game plan, or have units that you can basically blow up because they don't really matter and only for the early game. But it interacts with self-milling and discarding shenanigans. You could copy it, gaining more out of it. So it's basically an absolute scaling for those people who know about the card and why it was nerfed. But over time, this card can only get better. Okay, it's a little bit of an iffy card if you drafted it, but as said, even if you drafted it during a game, it's still a lunar judgment.
Yeah. So we have another take on Mind Mass Removal. This is actually hard removal. Chasm by Inferno again. Inferno being a little newer. Inferno, their designs look interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing more. I even like the art. It's simple, but I like the little thing in the background there. So destroy all units. I haven't really read this. Destroy all units. Yeah. Destroy all units with HP 4 or greater, and it costs 2 more to cast if you don't control a unit with HP 4 or greater. Oh, yes. Oh boy, I just realized what this is.
I mean, it suggested a card for you to look into it. So yeah, I personally enjoy seeing such effects because it's board wipe, but a little bit different. While we have a lot of damage-based board wipes or stuff we just blow up, in this case, well, why not support the weenies? Those that don't have so much toughness or HP values. In this case, the smaller your deck or the smaller your units in your deck, the better this card can get, and you can actually utilize it with Doomwalkers, which cap out at like 5 HP, so you can trigger it, and it has interaction with one attack unit, X HP units. Therefore, you can get around those beefier boards that you cannot break apart.
Now, the thing here, I don't know if I quite agree with. A lot of mind base, especially their mass removal, has been damaged so far.
Yes, that's the issue, which is probably the reason why it isn't upvoted.
Yeah, it hasn't been getting a lot of upvotes, I think because of the affinity. So also, it's not where it's really needed. Mine does have a lot of 1/1 units, but the first two things I thought about this are strength, which can't get this in its affinity because it's the collective police say that it can't.
Exactly.
The mass AoE, the AoE hard removal.
It would be another AoE that would fit into mind and also would support Bullock in this regard.
But yeah, Spirit has weenie strategies. Baluk could use something like this. Like this in Spirit sounds a little closer to me.
Yeah.
And would give something interesting to Spirit. Mind, it just feels wrong. Fleeing Sanity, I hadn't really looked at this. This is the one that Grief really wanted to talk about.
The card was kicked out by your beloved Kambou because it was in the top 10 last week in the midweek post of what could get into the game, or the top 10 most upvoted cards that are about to get into the game, and Fleeting Sanity was one of them. So I'm really glad it got reposted because I like those cards. I like this card. And yeah, I'm a degenerate person. I hate when my opponents play cards. Sorry about it. But again, we do like a lot of hand interaction. We have like 3 to maybe 5, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 4 card discard-ish effects, but all of them have conditions that have to be met or are conditional. This one basically says, okay, good, we would play gift giving, but we don't gain something about it for 1 mana. I like it. It's simple. It does give you it gives you interactions or synergies with self-discarding or pitching certain cards into your graveyard, like Dust Devil or similar card effects that want to be in the graveyard.
Yeah, specters like this. We really, if we see, I know Archetype Completionist talked about maybe doing specters soon,
which would be nice and fits into it.
Talking around self-discard, they need an engine like this.
Rebound, also interesting. You can either play it twice, or you can actually play one, discard a rebound card, and get it back into your hand. That's why you can actually put multiples of them in your hand. You can discard them, and basically in the end, only your opponent discard the card, because the other copy will just return to your hand, as well as the copy you've just played.
Yeah, so one of the things you got to bear in mind a lot in this is card advantage. Fleet Sanity is going to be, so let me work this out. You're going to be down 1 after the first cast, and you're still going to be down 1 after the second cast, relative to what your opponent's doing. So you two each are going to discard 2 cards, ideally, probably, maybe. But at the same time, ideally, you're running this in a setup that's able to cut the loss. It's able to deal with having the cards gone.
Or not just that, or basically interacting with your opponent, discarding cards. Of course, you can use it with something like the Conclave Spectre, which reduces its cost permanently wherever it is, depending on how much cards you discard over the time, which this card could fairly well fit into. On the other hand, who of you have seen a Dralok deck? Or Rooftop Sniper in particular?
Oh, good point. Yeah, with Dralogs, this is actually a counter Dralog tech.
No. It would basically slot into a draw attack because Rooftop Sniper just deals 2 damage to you because you discarded a card.
Oh, yeah, Rooftop Sniper. But it also works against Dralogs because if they're trying to do their hand filling shenanigans, this gives
Yes.
you get stuff out of your hand.
As long as it's not one of those cards that want to be discarded, which is
Yeah.
more or less the case in with most Drawlog token cards.
Well, but sometimes the difference between between winning or losing is just being able to reduce the damage that Mind Blow's dealing you by 1.
That's true.
It's on my.
So please vote that card in.
Yeah.
I'm begging you.
So, Arcane Scriptures, another Naz card. I think Naz is kind of our featured designer here. Oh, Grief, you're on this one. Grief was having me plug his own card, guys.
No, that's... Hey.
So this is...
That's a false narrative.
This is a callback to Cryptic Command from Magic, in that it's a 4-mode spell with 2 modes per cast.
Exactly. For 5 mana.
Yeah. So you get a counter, awesome. Exhaust, also awesome. But it's exhaust all, and that's important.
Exactly. It's a fog effect. Or for those who've played it in the past, Gift of Peace, which basically says exhaust all units, or all units cannot really attack for this turn. But that's just for the units that are already in play. So everything that's following it can attack.
Yeah, so it gums the board up. This is very much a control-y option, but you also have these top 2 modes. You have gain 3 XP, which is great for Vriktic. Vriktic likes to level. And you also have the draw and action. Draw and action specifically. I didn't quite read that.
The idea behind it was find a way to design commands which are inspired by, in this case, inspired by Cryptic Command, but does stuff more fair or catered to collective in general, especially in mind, or mind control in this case. So you have basically the counter spell or the mode for the fog effect that allows you to basically buy another turn to gain XP, or for spell sling decks to draw an action. So there was the idea of finding a balance and creating a 2-mode card or split card that gives you good value for its cost, not being overbearing, but being also flexible for the different card archetypes that we already have in game, while not being a carbon copy of Cryptic Command. Inspired by, but not a carbon copy.
Yeah, it's got some differences. I think the project type is interesting. Oh, it's the other draw cards.
Yes, I found out that we had this project card that got into the game like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I just said, okay, good. I mean, maybe in the future we can do something with the projects. So my idea was to put project first of all on commands or similar effects like that. So
yeah, and I think this is it. This art is an Orbis art. It's been floating around on the art sheet for a while, hasn't it?
Yes, because it was similar to the other card for art-wise or thematically art-wise. I thought, well, project might be quite fitting. So, and since this card cannot or has been around for like months and never gotten in any iteration, maybe this time.
Yeah, I think this art needs a home, and I couldn't think of a better thing for this to go to. I've seen some of the other designs try to use it. And
also, we lack a lot of we also lack mind actions at a cost range of 5 mana, to be honest. That's why it was also designed for around that cost range. 17 Reddit votes. Neat.
17 Reddit votes. Make it 18.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So this is Apra's Snap Rebuke. For those of you who don't know, Apra is like the guy who's been helping me a lot with some of the Carthyian stuff. And he's like, I love his designs. They're just awesome. And the art is so trippy. Like, this is Apra's heavy image editing style art.
It's so mesmerizing. I really like it a lot. Hats off to you.
My one criticism is there's no snapping going on in it. But it's pretty. I like it. I love purple. Purple's my thing. For those of you who don't know. So this is the first of hopefully a couple actual like instant speed reaction style cards.
Yeah. Naz and Appa have been quite experimental with those currently.
Yeah, so this is actually a card you don't play. This is a card that plays itself. And I think there's a lot of interesting design space there that needs to be mined. This is a control option, so not for everyone. I do think its interaction with off affinity is interesting because you don't, correct me if I'm wrong here, you don't really get a choice with this card. It plays itself whether you want it to or not, right?
As long as you have the mana open.
As long as you have the mana, yeah. So off affinity actually does something interesting here, in that it filters for higher cost spells, which adds another dynamic to it. Cost reduction also adds the opposite dynamic to it, where if you can reduce the cost of this somehow, it becomes way better, way fast. So my thought, Helping Hand. Is Helping Hand just units?
I think it's just units, yeah.
Oh man, we need Helping Hand for actions.
And no, we did that, and rare material is now unplayable, so.
Oh yeah, since rare material nerf, this is not going to be as, the reduced not going to be as viable. But if you can find a way to do it, more power to you, because that's awesome. Oh, I stopped the share. Hold on. There we go. We're back, folks. I haven't worked out all the technical issues yet. This is the one that Grief did not want to talk about. Give him a second. Good. He's ready now. So Entera, I could say one. Entera is
now
one nice thing we can say about
weed.
this. Right? Entera's fun. So this gums up everything. It gums up your deck. It gums up the board. You can't get rid of it. I don't even really know if I like it either. The original version, by the way, almost crashed the game. It actually did crash the game for several people. It's weird and pretty bad. 3-drop 1/1, and it just fills whatever zone it's in. I don't even know what needs it. Can you tell me?
Do I have to? Do I have to talk about weed? I know you brought me here to interact with you and talk about cards, but
say something nice about weed, Grief.
Something nice about weed. Okay. Gentle Cat, you've done an awesome job of uplifting this meme into a higher sphere of existence. Due to you, we can immortalize weed as a milestone in card design that will usher in a new age in collective era. Thanks to you, if this card gets in, your name will be immortalized on this card, and you are at fault for everything that's wrong with any deck that's playing it.
Yeah, this
Think about it.
Cat art, guys. Gentle Cat seriously went and arted this. I don't know. I'm pretty indifferent to it. Maybe there's somebody who has a brew. I'm gonna be nicer than Grief is. Not much nicer. And I'm a guy who runs plants, so It's interesting. I do think it's interesting. I just don't know if it's good.
We have an emote. That's the only thing it was good for to create a new Discord emote.
Okay, moving on. We spent more than enough time. This one was pitched 6 hours ago, and I have not seen it yet. And it's top.
The new Taza card. Okay. Before you look at the card, do you know Incendium?
Oh yes, Incendium. It was actually like a staple way back when that rotated out, right?
Yes, it is. It randomly hit cards. It randomly shot 5 damage on the board onto the board of your opponent. It cost 4 in mind. This costs 5 and has life bond in spirit and shoots 6 damage randomly split onto the entire board. It's Incendium, but much, much worse.
Well, it's much. Oh, all units in play. Ouch. So Incendium was a shotgun that hit only your opponent's board.
Exactly.
And this is that, but less controllable. But if you're running a lot of life gain synergy, you might care. Right?
This card definitely has a home, but then again, I don't like rolling the dice and just by accident hitting mostly my own board. Even if I gain the life from it, I don't think it's quite worth it.
That's the thing is you got to be in a weird position to even want this because a lot of green decks are swarm decks. They have a lot of units.
They are control based, or they have a control based archetype. The problem is they are mostly board based effects.
Yeah, Dat doesn't mind this as much though because Dat tends to have those higher HP units. Maybe the drawback isn't bad for Dat.
The thing is, if you want to play it, do you want to run the risk to only hit your own board?
Yeah, and that's the thing you got to be wary of. I think it's a little too high variance. But then again, if you were to make this only enemy, you'd probably have to bump the cost to like 7.
Probably.
And I don't even know if you'd want to run it.
Incendium was a staple. Not gonna lie, and it did a lot of things wrong design-wise, especially regarding one-sided board wipes. But this isn't really the way to fix that kind of hole, or basically approach this kind of design, because even if it gets in, they are really just 1 to 3 decks, maybe at most, that want to run something like that. And even then, do you really want to?
So this is Zinker's design. Zinker, I think, just got a card in.
I think so too. I can't remember.
Yeah, Zinker, I think, is one of the newer designers. And this is the anti-backwards affinity card.
No, it was meant as Kyungmi support.
It's Kyungmi support. Mine doesn't normally get deadly, Spirit doesn't normally get duelist, and Strength doesn't normally get ward is the idea, right?
No, basically all do that.
Oh.
Spirit has duelist.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I was thinking, I think, to an earlier version of the card, and then people are like, why are you undermining affinity identities?
Oh, okay.
That was talked about like that, though.
Because for those who don't know about it, Kyungmi is the only multicolor affinity hero. She starts out as a neutral hero, so she can play all cards except affinity exclusive cards. But when hitting her first level up, she has to choose an outfit. And she cycles through her outfits for Spirit, Mind, and Strength. In an order, in this exact order, at a point you want to start in, at whatever point you want to start in. And depending on the affinity that your hero currently has, this has one of the following keywords. So it's an interesting design space, a little bit non-bowish with Kyungmi's red outfit, because when she changes into her red outfit, her strength outfit, she gives a strength unit in your hand or on the battlefield, +1/+1 and duelist. while, yeah, this card will lose Duelist if you are changing, if you're changing out of Spirit, but maybe a mode like Regenerate or similar things would have been more fitting, so you could actually utilize the Duelist in its Spirit form and so on and so forth. I like the idea behind it, and I also like initiatives that try to support cards meant to be played or the hitting decks that are extremely hero tailored.
I could see this being fully fleshed out and seeing a lot more of these designs because they're super flexible, and flexibility is my thing. I'm a draft guy, and
Yes.
we want to see stuff that works, like with different ideas that you can actually mix and match. And this is what this is. Seeing this in like Astral Gauntlet would be pretty fun. I disagree with the keyword choices here. Like you said, it doesn't work with Kyungmi as well as it possibly could. Ward is a weird... I want to see a different word there. Because I don't even understand how it interacts off the bat, because like with Kyungmi, if you lose strength and become strength, does it pick Ward back up?
No, it should actually lose Ward. And it has Ward as long as you are in your strength mode, as much as I gathered from it.
But it's unintuitive, right? Like, you didn't pick that up. You're not quite sure without actually playing with it.
I can see that criticism.
Yeah, and I don't like that. That's why I think Ward was definitely the wrong choice here.
You could pick Overrun.
Overrun. And that's interesting on a 2-2. And this, buffing this up, if that word was Overrun, buffing this up makes a really fun unit with Kyungmi. Because you have options, you could switch it around, you could have a lot.
Exactly. I mean, this could go back into the think tank and cook a little bit more the card lab. That's why I wanted to talk about this card. I like the design concept, but there are parts to improve on it. And yes, I really want to see something like that more in the game, because I have the idea, because I have the feeling people try to tiptoe a little bit too much around heroes instead of more embracing their mechanics.
Yeah, this is embracing the weirdness and also providing a flexible draft option.
Exactly.
So I'm going to upvote that right now. Just missed top 10, so good luck to you, Zinker.
Exactly.
Don't know why I have that on second time. Don't know why I have that on a second time. So I think that's, you know what, let's just jump on the old homepage here.
And go through some random designs here, why not?
Let's see what's on the top right now.
Yeah.
There we go. Circle of Entropy, boo. Sunflower Seeds. Let's talk about Sunflower Seeds to close it out. You gain 3 HP, fed units gain 3 HP. Wow. That is op. Is it? That's a lot of HP.
That's an interesting card. That's an interesting food. I personally have the idea of food should be a little bit more cheaper, because if you really want to utilize them to the max, you want to play cheap food and play cheap units en masse, or only one big unit that could utilize the effect of the food the most. But this is an interesting way to do so.
Yeah, it's pushed. I think it could be down-tuned a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Maybe two, and then see, I'm not very good at numbers, which is funny because you knew me in real life, you know why that's funny. But yeah, the art is pretty. Zinker's art is neat. So yeah, I think that's about all we have time for. We've kind of gone long.
Sorry.
We've enjoyed this. The format is not set in stone yet, so I'm not quite sure what we're doing next week. Still got to work out, talk to some people. I might eventually get a panel on where we have multiple people in the discussion. So if you guys just want to tell me in the comments what you guys think and how we might improve, just let me know. I hope you enjoyed Submitted for Your Approval, and y'all have a great day, and keep having fun out there in the portals.
See ya.